Hey guys, and welcome on into today's video where we're going to be discussing net neutrality, what the definition of it is, and how it can affect us as consumers as well as content providers and our internet service providers if net neutrality is gotten rid of. So the basic definition and idea behind net neutrality is having an open and free internet that gives equal access to all websites and content providers on the internet and makes it so that our internet service providers can't block certain content as long as it is legal content, as well as favoring potentially some sources over other sources, or charging companies or websites to have a higher speed and access to that internet that consumers are going to be using. So what are the ramifications of this for us as consumers? It basically means if net neutrality and the protections that it has for all content on the internet is gotten rid of, it will almost assuredly in the future make the internet more expensive for us as consumers, as well as reducing the speed at which we can access many of our favorite websites. So how this can happen is, without net neutrality, an internet service provider can say, all right, YouTube or Netflix, you guys use a lot of our broadband with people watching video online, so we are going to charge you to continue to get the same speeds that everyone else are getting. And so if Netflix and YouTube wouldn't pay the price, then the internet service provider could block their content potentially, or massively slow down their speeds, which would make it harder for us to get that content. And Netflix and YouTube could take the other route where they just pay the bribe to the internet service provider so that they continue to get the same type of speed that they're getting. And as a result, they might be forced to charge consumers a subscription fee. Even more so for Netflix or YouTube, a lot of their actually almost all their content is free. They might have to end up charging a subscription fee to get access to that content that we already currently get for free. So that would be a really negative situation. It could also come to the situation where smaller and medium-sized internet websites wouldn't be able to pay for the speeds that the larger companies are able to afford. So that would be a situation where they could end up reducing the amount of competition on the internet, or making it really hard for small and mid-level websites to compete against the larger corporations that might be able to afford the bribes to get preferential treatment in terms of the speed that they're allowed access to. That's another thing that could be really detrimental. And so this whole idea of net neutrality is, the internet operated a certain way all the way up until 2015, and people liked the fact that all of the websites were playing by the same rules. The internet service provider weren't implementing any of these prohibitive things to either slow down the speed of websites or block websites. And so what the FCC decided to do in 2015 was lock in how the internet was operating so that the internet service providers couldn't change this. So they implemented the regulation to kind of just make it known that the internet is going to operate a certain way, and that's how we want it to be from here on out. The vote was 3-2 in that particular situation. It was voted on party lines. The 3 Democrats put in the regulation to make it so that the internet service providers couldn't ruin the internet as we know it, and then the 2 conservatives on the panel voted to not implement the regulation. But now under the Trump administration, we have a situation where the conservatives now have the power, so it looks like net neutrality is probably going to end at some point in the near future. The only thing we can really do to prevent this is protest, let the FCC know that we are strongly in favor of net neutrality, and then obviously in the future try to elect people that are going to appoint more liberal people to the FCC to protect our rights as consumers as well as content providers in terms of the internet speeds that we're getting. Obviously, these ISPs are losing money to things like YouTube and Netflix because they're having cord cutters, or people that are never getting their cable TV subscriptions because they get a lot of their video content through the internet. And without net neutrality, these internet service providers can go in and charge companies like Netflix and YouTube exorbitant amounts of money to get the internet broadband that they need to get their content to the consumer. And if they increase the price on that, that's just going to trickle down onto us, and all those expenses are going to be dumped onto the consumer. So it's a very dangerous thing to get rid of net neutrality. That's why major content providers like Google and Apple and all these big tech companies are for keeping net neutrality how it currently operates. And then you have the ISPs who want to get rid of it so that they don't have that regulation on them, so that they can have more freedom to charge more to access their services. So that pretty much sums up the situation that we're at right now with net neutrality. Even if it is gotten rid of, I would hope at some point people would understand that they're getting screwed over by this fact that net neutrality has gotten rid of, and the internet service providers are now charging you more for worse service when they don't have to do that. And then we'll put people that will appoint the proper kind of representation into the FCC that actually passes the kind of things that the public, by and large, want to see happen. So that's pretty much it for this video, guys. I appreciate you stopping in and seeing what I had to say on this topic, and I hope to see you in future videos. Bye.